Good morning and welcome to the SPTT committee meeting. It is Wednesday, June 23rd at 7:49 a.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I am looking for an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, I'd be looking for an approval of the minutes, and I may add that I was not at it, so I won't be voting on approval.
Motion to approve the minutes for March 24th, 2021.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, up next, Dr. Jonathan Tyson and James Parker, Technology Services Program Evaluation.
Yes. Good morning, board members. As a part of our Hanover Research Partnership, we have been conducting ongoing program evaluations, and we have moved outside the academics arena, and we conducted an analysis of our technology help desk. So through February and March, we partnered with Hanover, of course, to look at our technology help desk as it relates to SolarWinds and our help desk tickets. Of course, you're aware when a staff member has an issue with a piece of hardware of the network, they put in a help desk ticket, and then of course a technician resolves that issue. We wanted to look at pre-COVID as compared to post-COVID, or actually through COVID, as we were looking at our help desk. So really this was a little bit unique, and it was something that Mr. Parker and I worked together on with Hanover Research. It was a data analysis project. So once we initially met with Hanover, Hanover asked for 3 years of help desk ticket data, and Mr. Parker and his team came together. They provided that data, and then through February and March, Hanover went through and conducted the data analytics and produced some recommendations and key findings. Mr. Parker is going to talk through a couple of slides here next, and then I'm going to come back here at the conclusion and talk about, key findings and then next steps and recommendations that came from Hanover Research. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. I want to go over a few slides and give you some graphical representation of our help desk tickets. First of all, to show you what the category of the help desk tickets are, what's encompassed in each of these categories, and the percentages at the top will show you the total aggregate amounts of our tickets as per volume. Naturally, hardware is our highest volume tickets and you can see what's included in there. It's everything from power supplies to broken cables or devices. The average days for completed, we broke this out into hardware and software. On the left-hand side is your hardware, average days to close, and it goes through the years. And you can see on the right-hand side is your software. We took this from 2018 through 2021. And 2018 was our old help desk ticketing system. We converted halfway through the year, so it's not a full analysis or graphical representation of the number of tickets. But you can see in 2019 was with SolarWinds. 2020, you can see that was a dramatic increase. We had 6,000 ticket increase between 19 and 20. And 2021, you can see there is just for the first quarter. Based on that trend, will be about 23,600 for the year, and just hardware alone, which will be another 7,000 increase over 2019. We've noticed a dramatic increase in breakages of units of devices when they have not been in with the structure of the school and having that framework of support around them, those that can help them with them immediately, and the teachers. And that we've noticed that when they've been in a home environment that we've had a lot more breakage, either carrying or transporting them to a location where they can conduct their classes online. So on the right-hand side is the number of software tickets. You can see between 2019 and 2020, we also had about a 7,000 increase in tickets. That's the same indicative of that COVID impact. School year comparisons for help desk tickets. We break these out into our low, medium, high, and urgent. Urgent is you cannot perform your duties or your job because that's down. It's typically a network or a school outage issue. You can see those were at the height and peak of 2019 when in the COVID we had a lot of urgent tickets, but that was where students or staff are taking their devices home so they could not complete their jobs as far as instruction, and they classified those as urgent instead of as a high priority. You can see as at the bottom, here's our account categories and broken out by percentages. Again, you can see that there's some increases as we went along. The hardware, we were able to maintain almost a percentage steadiness because we brought in 2 outside vendors to take on our tickets. And we also brought in 5 contractors to help us with those too. So they helped us with the analysis. The graphical representation, here it is pre-COVID versus post-COVID. You can see that we've had dramatic increases in all our areas as we went up in that number of days. And you can see as our hardware, we were 9.6 pre-COVID. We were able to get a 9.3 average days closed for hardware, even though we had that 6,000 increase. It's because of that additional resources we applied to turn around those cycle times of this. But all other areas went up in average number of days and tickets. I'll switch back to Dr. Tyson and let him go over the research findings.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. So, of course, it's no surprise that COVID took a toll on our help desk tickets and resolution times. You can see almost a 12,000 ticket increase as it relates from 2019 to 2020. The composition of the type of the ticket, however, did not change drastically. You can see that the hardware tickets did go up approximately 7%. In comparison, the account tickets went down approximately 7%, but all other tickets and all other ticket types remain relatively the same. You know, when comparing closed short relief tickets 30 days to resolution or left before and after COVID, you can see that closed times for all categories except for hardware, which Mr. Parker just talked about with the independent contractors, have gone up significantly. We've seen a drastic increase. And you can see the numbers there on the screen. I won't read it verbatim, but you can see from 4.5 days to 5.9 for network, 5.0 to 6.8 with software, 5.4 to 7.0 with website, 3.9 days to 5.1. So when comparing closed short relief tickets, which is really account tickets in closed time for high priority and urgent, we see from 2019 to 21, we see 5.2 to 7.5 days. And compared to low and medium priority tickets, 4.1 to 4.9. Similar pattern with network tickets for high and urgent network tickets, 4.7 to 10.6, which is over double. And then low and medium priority tickets, 4.6 day to 5.7 during the same time. And then longer term hardware tickets, 60 days to resolution or less. Average close times have increased between 2019, 2021. And you can see that there 8.2 days to 13.0, and then the medium and low priority 16.6 to 17.1, so relatively flat. So you see all this information that we've shared and you say, now what? And these are the recommendations that came from Hanover Research. And I'll go over those briefly and then we'll take any questions that you may have. The first is hire more technicians. Longer wait times for non-hardware related tickets can be reduced by increasing staffing. And we recognize that increased staffing would mitigate some of this. Additional hires can help to support schools that have seen the largest increases in tickets and ticket resolution time. Second, conduct an analysis on the IT department's hardware supply chain. And this is something that nationally every school system in America could probably do, because COVID, once we switched to remote, online, and of course hybrid learning, everyone had to step up their game as it relates to technology. You think about March, a year and a half ago, when we went basically virtually to an education platform. And then finally, identify best practices to reduce labor-intensive work for the IT department. And this speaks to training of staff, training of teachers, and even training of students, so we can mitigate some of the low-level tickets that are put into the help desk system. Like if you can reset a computer and it will mitigate a student having to put in a help desk ticket, and that can be handled at the school or the classroom level, that will be beneficial for our school system and make us more efficient, because that's not something that the IT department has to ever touch to come up with the resolution and close that ticket. And Mr. Parker's positioned to talk about a couple of things that we already have in motion as a district as it relates to ideas and different things that we have in place to help with some of that as we move to a remote environment.
Yeah, as Dr. Tyson said, during this analysis and looking at the ticket increase over this time period, we implemented several new policies to help our students and staff. And part of that is if you go to our Technology Services Department page on the Union County Public Schools homepage, you'll find a segment dedicated just for students and just for staff. There's help desk tutorials, which shows students and staff how step by step to complete and resolve their own tickets. So that way it gives us an assistance immediately by just following some of these steps. And we looked at the highest volume tickets and what was the most requested items. And that's the way we tailored our self-help documents. Another item is our password recovery process, which all of you have been through. Put in your own personal name and your own personal phone numbers and email addresses to recover your passwords. The number one hit on all help desk anywhere is always passwords. Everybody forgets their passwords. So we implemented a self-service recovery password portal and allows everybody to recover those. We also discussed with Dr. Houlihan in the past and with our academics department about adding a course code called Help Desk. There's a state course code called Help Desk where students are dedicated to 1 hour a day and they go help all the other students and staff in the school. These are students who have an interest in technology or students who can go out and assist our staff and be an extension of technology services. So students do get credit for this, and it's a part of the statewide curriculum, and it can be implemented. We've done it in the past, and it's proved successful. And now this is, I think, something that would be an extension of our department and not require us to add additional staff by adding this course code.
Mr. Parker, when did the self-help portion come into effect as it relates to the initial understanding that there was a problem and an increase and say the end of up to now? How long has that piece been in effect, and have we seen dramatic decreases in tickets because of it?
Yes, sir. We saw the dramatic increases in 1920, and that's when we started looking at the increase in volume and seeing the number of tickets coming in, both from staff and students. It's not from one area. We started then putting together our digital library, and that's when we started putting those in. Now it's been a piecemeal. So we go back, look at analysis of tickets, see what the number one request is, and then we go back and create a video or a paper tutorial on how to do this. So we've been adding to that library consistently, and if you go there now, we've added that complete digital library, and you'll see some of those self-help documents. The last piece was when we went to our Microsoft A5 Education offered the password recovery piece, and that's just through two-factor authentication, which you're used to it because if you go to your bank or go anywhere else, you get a code on your phone and says, put this code in. That's basically what we're doing to recover your own passwords. So that if it's nighttime or on a weekend and you can't get any help, you can also recover your password at that time too by just putting in your information, having it send you a code, and you can reset your own password.
Had that, because of that piece, these numbers that we're seeing today, and trust me, full disclosure, I am a true beneficiary of your expertise, and I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
This the self-help, and I'm really interested in this piece. Had that not been there, these numbers would have been even greater out of whack.
I think so.
I guess I could say, put it into terms of numbers. What percentage of instituting the self-help minimize an increase in tickets?
Yes, sir. We didn't perform that piece of analysis, but we may know it coming into this next year because as that library increases and as our self-help modules are implemented, we'll notice we should see a trend of those tickets coming down everywhere but hardware. Those are hopefully we go back to an in-class environment where there's more structure and framework around our students and our staff that will go down also, and it won't be such a transient environment or breakage of devices. It's pretty labor intensive for our group. We have insurance, obviously for devices that slip or fall off or get cracked or anything along that. But there's also, the the times that if it's totally destroyed, they got, run over by a car or got smashed to pieces, the insurance won't cover, obviously, for those reasons. But hopefully we see those trends. We're working hard to improve our department every day. We're extending our hours, trying to improve our services and keep our turnaround times for our students and staff at reasonable levels.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Jay, for anyone watching, could you walk us through, once you get to the UCPS website, how to do the recovery as well as to find the tutorials?
Yes, sir, we can. On our tutorials, if you go to our Union County Public Schools homepage, on the left-hand side, you'll click and go to our departments. You'll click on Technology Services, and on that Technology Services, there's a resources page, and that is broken out by students and staff. So we intentionally tailored our documentation and instruction based on the level that you were in our district. So if you go there, you'll see a whole complete documentation of it.
Okay. Do you currently have any vacancies of technicians in your department?
Yes, sir. I only have one network technician that left, but that's the only position I have right now.
Okay. Have you hired the new position for the
Cybersecurity?
Yes, cybersecurity? Yeah.
Yes,
Has
sir.
that person been hired in place?
They have not been hired. We advertised on Indeed, which went into a nationwide search. And we also advertised locally on our website. We obtained 69 candidates, and we vetted those down to about 10. And now we're doing an analysis on those 10 to see which ones qualify for this position. I am grateful and thankful for the board to give us that position for this next year, because cybersecurity is a #1 hit on our K-12 school districts, and it's a threat everywhere. We've worked hard to improve our stance in cybersecurity. We have now been top in the state as far as our ranking. We've had 3 third-party intrusion testings. We've ranked at the top of every one of those, but that still doesn't protect you. You still need this person that's dedicated and watching this all the time. So over the summer period, in the first weeks in July, we should have that position in place.
So it sounds like you have that position filled and up and running well before the start of the next school year.
Yes, sir. That's our intention. And then to bring some cybersecurity awareness to our staff and students this next year. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Got a few questions. On the data, it had under hardware brightness. Is that classified as hardware brightness, or is it just like, hey, I don't know how to make my screen brighter?
Yeah, it's typically that the LCD screens are fading,
Okay.
are not working. It's not actually an indication of an adjustment on the screen. It's faded out, or the cable's gotten loose. Computer.
Okay. And in terms of with the Chromebooks, with the leases, they're under warranty. How does that process work with repair?
Yes, sir. We have a mixture of warranty and non-warranty devices out there. Our 2 through 12 are actually being repaired by our depot and our 2 outside vendors. Second graders are using the best of our oldest this last year, and those are not under warranty. So those, the district covers the repairs. The 3 through 12, if they're broken or slip out of their hands or covered our accidental insurance warranty, there's no cost to the student. We encompass all of our insurance policies in with the RFP, so the student's not affected with these insurance policies for coverages. So as that works, we file claims with the vendor if we do the repairs, or the third-party vendor does the repairs. We file that back with Lenovo eventually, and we get a reimbursement for our time and parts. And our problem has been what Mr. Moriel's expertise is: supply. Our supply chain's been broken the whole year because getting parts here, the increase in Chromebooks, everyone has gone to a remote environment, breakages increase. It's just hard to get them. I mean, even automotive dealers have shut down, manufacturing companies, because they couldn't get the carbon chips. And all these computers have carbon chips, your phones do. So we've been impacted by supply chain demands everywhere.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about the help desk course that you referenced?
Yes, sir.
So I'm assuming one that's only going to be available for high schools. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's a help desk curriculum instituted by the Department of Instruction, and it allows students in an environment where they can take a course code, get credits, but within that 1 hour of time, these students are extension of our technology services or the school technical support. So these students have already, they're gifted with some kind of abilities, or maybe this is their career choice. So and within that, they get classroom instruction from a teacher, similar to like a CTE environment of showing you how to work on computers, what the each piece is, and then they also get instruction from us in technology services, where we give them advice, and this is how we have connect up, such as whiteboards or sync computers or connect wirelessly or reset an access point, those kind of things. In the past, we piloted that, found great success with it, and now would like to put it in Union County Public Schools and use that as an extension. It's a beneficial for the student, and it's beneficial for our department and our service levels. So I see it as a win-win, and students enjoy it. I mean, this is something that they wanted to do, and during that hour of time in the school or hour and a half of time, they go around and help each of our areas, and they also have the opportunities with Microsoft Teams to mentor and help other students, to say, hey, you can't get into this. Let me show you how to do this. Our Microsoft Teams is limited to an at UCPS address, so it's secure and they can have conversations with each other.
So would you assign help desk tickets to
Mhm.
this curriculum at each school and it would get divvied out?
Yes, sir. They would take the first level 1 tickets, which is maybe just the teacher's whiteboard won't sync with their laptop. And, we have instructions for that. So we would provide the students with a quick tips sheet to allow them to quickly look down and look at it. And they'll have access to what we call our Tech Wiki, which is our internal documentation. They would have access to that also to look at some of the environments. But we would give them the first level of security to do these type of activities.
I mean, this sounds like a great idea. So what do you need to move it forward?
It goes through Dr. Tyson and I spoke about it last week. It goes through a curriculum committee and makes an addition. And my proposal would be to add it to 1 or 2 high schools, to see how, to find out the process, find out what's needed within it, and then spread it to the other departments. But I think it's a good idea. It's an extension and supports our staff and our students.
Do you need anything from this committee to move it forward?
It's Dr. Tyson. What would we need to move that forward?
Well, of course, the course would have to get into the program of studies through the curriculum committee, and we approve the the program of studies traditionally in the spring each year. It's already been approved, so it would have to be an addition. And then the other challenge would make sure that we have the staffing to teach that course and the credentialing, someone on staff at one of these schools. I'm not exactly 100% familiar with the credentialing within the Career and Technical Education Department to offer this course, but that's something we can definitely look into. It should not be a problem if we have someone on staff already with those credentials.
And Microsoft and Apple both have offered to come in and conduct some class seminars on their products and on support services if we have that offer.
Great.
I'd second Joe's comments. I think it's a great idea, and as a member of the curriculum committee, I'm not sure if we've formally scheduled a meeting for next month, but I would certainly like to see at least the pilot part of this that you mentioned implemented for the fall of this school year.
I agree. It's a very successful program, and I'm like you. I'm in favor of seeing that as a pilot in our district.
I would be interested in the 2 schools with that greatest increase in tickets, possibly being the pilot. That would accomplish 1, getting their tickets down, but also providing guidance for the other schools. I think that would be something to consider, to target those schools that had the highest numbers of ticket increases. What a great way to help minimize those folks.
Yes, yes, sir.
And I back up Gary by saying that was an excellent question from the chair.
I've got a question too, as far as the students. I'm assuming they'll have elevated privileges. Will they just have elevated privileges for the time in the class, or will they have it?
Yeah, we would create what we call an organizational unit, which is an OU for these students, and assign a different security level for them, where they could reset a password. That you can't see a password, but you could reset one, and we would designate it just for that location, so they could reset passwords for students within that school. And we keep a log of it anyway that shows who reset it, what time it was reset.
Mhm.
But we would show them how to do this. So that would give them that opportunity to do, to have them come in. Because a lot of this is NCA Cloud, the single sign-on portal for students where they log into one website, they access all of their digital resources. This would be one of those extensions of it. So we would give them rights to reset that password.
And could this be done in the summer too, as like a summer
Mhm.
class potentially? I mean,
It could be, once it makes it through our course of study and gets into our curriculum, it can be implemented at any time. It's a state course code. We've just, in Union County, we have not implemented that yet. Dr. Lamb brought it up, last year, and we discussed pieces of it. And we were looking at, when we went back into an in-class environment, could we institute this? So I'm looking forward to adding that to part of our curriculum studies.
So would this be an actual curriculum, or is this just a course? And what I mean by that, like if I'm an incoming freshman and I take this class, right? So now I'm certified and I can perform these, like I don't lose my privileges after that class is done, right? Like it'll retain throughout
It's actually a path of study. So once you go through the first help desk, there's a help desk 2. So that goes to a second level. Maybe that's taking the devices completely apart and replacing a screen with some spare parts. So it's actually a curriculum advancement over the years. But yes, you're right. Those rights would stay with those students, while they're in that course. And we could look at maybe allowing some of the students to keep those after that time period.
Great. Anything else on the program evaluation?
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, next on the agenda, Mr. Parker, Technology Services Roadmap.
Yes, sir. You're used to seeing this in your documentation. You have paper on this. Here's to seeing this format of our 5-year roadmap of technology services. Mr. Helms asked me in the last technology committee meeting when the next 5-year plan would be, and I told him we'd have it by this meeting. So we put together the next few years to let you see from a high level when the computer, the Chromebooks for students come up and cycle, what year they're put into, the RFPs are generated. Anything in red is already completed, and those show that these have been done. It also picks up with our projection refresh for this next year based on the ESSER funds we're going to use for this next year to help out and replace some of those devices. But I won't go over the whole list, but it's an exhaustive 5 years and goes over some of the information from 2017 through 2021. We completed all the objectives set before us in the roadmap. So now we want to extend our roadmap over the next 5 years to give us a high-level chart of where we're headed to. This doesn't encompass all of our activities. Our technology services division is broken out into network and enterprise and Canvas and Power School. This is just pieces of it, but I wanted to put it on a chart so that we also have a focus and we're staying within our lane and we know where we're headed to. So this gives you a high level, and I'm answer any questions about it if you have any.
Is there anything on here we should be, that you're concerned with, that you need to call attention to, or is
The
everything
only
on
difference is
task?
the 21-22 school year with the sprint. We went from sprint 1 million to sprint 10 million, and we applied for the grant. In the initial sprint 1 million in 2017, we applied for that. We ended up getting about $500,000 in donations from Sprint, and that gives us the wireless access points for students. Well, when T-Mobile and Sprint merged together, they formed what they call 10 million now, and we applied back for that grant, and we were awarded that one too. So they gave us another $450,000 of devices. They'll arrive in mid-July. It's 4,900 devices, but what I wanted to highlight was these are only for free and reduced lunch students. In the past, they were for students that had difficulty with connectivity away from the school building or slow internet, those type situations. Well, the new Project 10 Million is only for free and reduced lunch students. So if a student does not qualify for that piece and has connectivity issues, they're not eligible for this device. But that's the only thing I want to call your attention to. I also spoke with our CFO, Shauna McLam, about using some ESSER funds to buy some additional units. because I know we're going to have students that are in between those two, a free and reduced lunch, but still have internet difficulties. So we're investigating the cost of that and trying to add that into this same type mix for next year. But I wanted to highlight that to you, that in the past we were able to hand out 9,000 of these over that 2017 to last year, and those all become disabled at the end of this month. End of June, all of them come disabled. And we now start with the 10 million project in July. Going into August, we start issuing those out. Students will have them ready.
How come the Bitlocker is on here for multiple years?
The first level Bitlocker we're going to put in we're going to actually start with our cabinet staff and with our administrative central office, and then we want to move over to our students and other places. What happens is the Bitlocker is a software that encrypts your laptop. If you lose your laptop or somebody steals it, when you turn on the laptop, it goes to a blue screen and says, "Tell me your password." And if you can't get past that, you can't get onto the machine, period, to even log on. So it basically encrypts your laptop. We want to start with the Board of Education, our cabinet level, and then go to our central office, and then migrate slowly to the schools and staff in our schools. So it's basically project 1, project 2.
Okay. And could we get this reformatted where it's more, the columns are more clean also?
Sure.
There's those little buff outs and.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything, any additional questions?
Oh, I like it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are a busy department.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate all the work you do.
We are. Yes, sir.
All right. Next on the agenda, COVID-19 face covering requirement.
I think we had one more item.
Oh, yes. Projection device refresh.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to highlight that our projection device refresh, we sent out surveys to all of our schools, and we're using ESSER funds. So in the past, using capital funds, we could replace devices that were failing but have not failed yet. With the ESSER funds, the requirements from a federal standpoint are the device it must not work at all. It must have multiple repairs and basically be an unrepairable device, or there's no instructional device in that room. So that's the 3 criteria. In the past, we were able to say, tell us where your oldest units are, and we'll replace those first. Using ESSER funds, we have to make sure that they are defective devices or they've had multiple repair tickets on them, indicating that. And that's our audit trail. But just to give you this year, we're the first year that in 18-19, we replaced 529 devices. Those were a mixture of TVs and smart panels. With this last survey, we have 318 devices requested. It's about $790,000 of that 1.5 million technology funds to replace those. And we're in the process now going room by room and auditing each of those requests and ensuring that they are devices that qualify for this program. But just to let you know where we are.
All right. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Just one question floating around in my head, and that is, are you all secure in the ability to handle all of the things necessary, let's say with this coming up out of this COVID situation going into 21, 22, are you positioned well, or where do you feel as though that you may have some areas lacking?
Yeah, from our network capacity, we're positioned well. We can handle streaming at a moment's notice. We could switch to another pandemic environment and go to remote learning and not impact our network or connectivity at all. We're running about 60% maximum capacity right now of our network, and we're also burstable, and we can expand that and double that increase. Our biggest challenge is hardware, which you saw in the slides from Hanover and from our data analysis, is just the breakage of devices have increased dramatically. We've had 6,000 more devices over this last year that have really put a burden on us and had us go looking for resources or additional help with those. And we brought on the 5 contractors during this time period to help us, and that wasn't enough. So we had to go out and find 2 external repair vendors. So we're shipping our product to Atlanta. We're shipping our product to Greenville, South Carolina. and they're sending trucks here to pick up the devices and repair them and bring them back, 10 days later repaired. But they're running into the same problems we are getting parts. So hopefully, I've had conversations with the vendor. Lenovo is our host vendor for both Chromebooks and PCs. I've had conversations with them about stockpiling some of the parts coming into this next year. I don't want to have the same impact for our students and staff and delays on repairs as we've had in the past. So I've told them my expectation is that the supply chain is fixed, or that they start working on it now, getting ready for that August opening date.
Thank you.
All right, anything additional from Mr. Parker?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, COVID-19 face covering requirement.
Mr. Chairman, I think I can provide some background on that agenda item if it pleases the committee.
Yes, please.
You will recall at our last board meeting, June 1st, we had a vote on transitioning to a mask optional environment. Vote was 4-4, and leadership volunteered Mr. Helms to bring the issue to the SPIT committee for further work. And since that vote, there have been several events happening with the legislature and the governor. We, at the same meeting, passed a resolution basically asking the governor to allow districts, specifically ours, to have flexibility in determining to be able to go mask optional. You'll recall the response from, I don't remember the staff member's name, but part of the governor's staff responded basically that they are going to continue to follow the CDC recommendations rather than look at from the state ourselves internally where the numbers are going. So that was basically our response to the resolution, which was basically no. Some of the concern of some of the board members at the last meeting was the fact that session law was involved that required districts to follow the guidelines in the Strong Schools NC Toolkit. And that session law, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Morse, but expires with the end of the summer learning session, which is latter part of July.
End of July.
So the session law that required us to follow those guidelines expires. But the governor did extend his executive order, much to the chagrin of some, and even legislators have asked with that extension, well, what is the end game here? When, what criteria do we have to meet for this thing to change or go away, or we are where we need to be? And to my knowledge, there's been no response to that. So we still don't know where the goalposts are. Now we have Representative Willis, member of our own delegation, is working on legislation on the state level to give school districts the flexibility. You know how that can go. I feel comfortable it will pass the legislature, but of course, legislation could be subject to a veto, and who knows if they'll have the votes to override or where that will go. What I would like to propose and offer in the form of a motion that we address this issue again for this committee, and if it is supported by the majority of the committee, go on to the board. Now, this is not an issue, are masks effective or are they not? It is not an issue about should you be vaccinated or not, or should children be vaccinated. That, in my mind, is not the issue. It's really a core issue as to who is going to decide what is right for you, your family, and your children. Is it going to be parents, or is it going to be a government bureaucracy? That in my mind, is the central issue. And as the parent of a UCP student, I want to decide what's right for my son. So in order to move the discussion along, I would like to offer a motion that effective August 1st of 2021, UCPS will transition to a mask optional environment for staff, students on all UCPS properties.
Second.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
So after July, that's when the current session law ends.
Yes, that is when the session law expires, as well as after the governor's current executive order. It expires July 30th. So with an August 1st date, we are beyond the executive order. We are beyond the session law.
My second is predicated on the fact that it will be, and I've had this conversation in other entities, that is cloaked in this government bureaucracy, as Mr. Sides has indicated, and I agree with him on that. It would be one thing if the scientific community was in massive unison. That would be one thing. If there was universal understanding of all of the protocolic procedures that they have instituted over the course of this last year plus. But they are not. Not only are they not, they are wide in their dissemination of information and their beliefs in the various practices that we've been under over the course of this last year. We have neighboring states around North Carolina that have long ago ended their governmental bureaucracy and has allowed, as Mr. Sides indicated, parents and entities and businesses and people to make those choices for themselves, and they're making them. We as a school district have the authority as a district to levy such forces of protocol. And when we get away as a nation from the first steps of guidance, which is the home, when we get away from that, then we really won't be a nation. It might seem simple to some to simply say the governor. Well, this particular governor, our governor, has, in my view, not always done the things necessary to help the parent on the front line. I mean, just even within the CDC, even with the Dr. Fauci of this nation, the one way this week, another way the next week, 4 months ago this, 3 months ago that. We really can't have parents not knowing what the deal is, what the goal is. And so I see this as giving them relief, because now they can make the determination. They can say, we will do this or we will do that. And to me, that's the greatest power that makes America, America.
May I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
I'm assuming the motion, although you didn't state it this way, Mr. Sides, is that the motion is to recommend to the full
To
board.
the full board, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, if passed by the committee. I just want to reiterate Reverend Benchin's comments. If you feel as a parent or as an employee of UCPS that continuing to wear a mask is in the best interests of you and your family, I support you just as vigorously in the choice to do that as I support those that feel a mask is no longer appropriate for their child or for themselves as an employee of UCPS. This is not a ban of masks. This is giving our staff and our students and our UCPS parents a choice. And that choice must be made by you from the information you gather, consultation with your God, whatever your decision-making process is. But we are offering a choice rather than a mandate.
I guess my comment would be, well, I fully agree with everybody that it should be a choice. It is currently law. We do not know the guidance for this coming school year yet, whether there will be a law, whether there will be, another toolkit issued on this. I think we're premature on bringing this to the full board. Like, why would we not wait until the guidance before we decide our path of action? I'll offer that up to the committee.
Could I answer that question? There's an old saying, I guess you lead, follow, or get out of the way. I honestly envision the opportunity for school districts, and I think rightly so at UCPS, to force the issue. We're on the front lines. We're responsible for some 5,000 staff members and 41,000 students. And I consider it my responsibility to do what's right for them. And if that means we get out front on this, then rightly so. And it wouldn't be the first time we've done it. And rightly so. It is my hope that other districts in this state will also take a similar stand, and that our government will understand that the people are demanding a choice, that we are at a point in time where parents have been left behind in this equation, and it's time to relinquish the government control. And if this is approved by our full board on the 13th of July, it would not take effect until August 1st, which would give the government authorities time to respond accordingly. Who knows? If we have 10, 20, 30 districts that follow our lead, then maybe the powers that be in Raleigh, in the administration, will decide, hey, maybe this is some kind of groundswell and we need to sit up and take notice. So I am respectful of your concerns of what the future might bring, but I think it's time we start to write our own future.
Mr. Chair, I do not see us as premature. Actually, I see us as lagging behind. When we look at neighboring states, not even states across the nation, but even neighboring states, we're slow to the game. Whatever reason our governor is trotting along as he goes, that's for him to deal with. That's his, he has to live with that. We should not live with his, if the science was all what the science is, that would be one thing. But there is data after data after data. I mean, we as a school district we assimilate data for other areas. We just heard Mr. Parker disseminate information on technology. I'm sure the state has their views on technology, but we have ours, and we've acted on that. We've taken the information that he gave and we've processed it, and we're moving forward with that information. Likewise, we have the ability to process our livelihood. This nation, and again, if we get away from the premise that we are a republic, and what makes us a good republic is that varying levels cannot levy us into a corner that puts us at almost a slavish mentality, if you will. We have recourse. We have the ability to debate, to vote, and if higher levels of government see our reactions, they can react to our reactions, but we can't not react. This is a situation that is not universal. And if the state government, let's just say it, if the state government don't want to move, then we as a school district, we can move. We can put and speak our voice. And the emails speak to this fact that the parents simply want a choice. They want the ability, the data's coming in, they want the ability to choose. People can look at the data, but they want the ability to choose, and we ought to give it to them.
And I want to bring up the fact too, that they do have a choice. And I think they're trying to decide whether to send their kids to UCPS next year or not too, depending on what we do with the mask. So that's one of the issues. I mean, I don't think it's premature right now. I mean, a lot of people are just trying to decide and wait, hey, do I want to homeschool next year? Because they don't want to send their kids to school with a mask.
Okay. I certainly appreciate everybody's comments. I do have a question on the analogy, though, on the technology information, and we're acting on it. There is no executive law or executive order behind the information that Mr. Parker has given us. So I'm unclear on that analogy, but do appreciate the comments.
No, the analogy is no more than that we make decisions on a variety of issues. Now, if you want to get into the executive order, I myself find that executive order misplaced. And I, as a citizen, have a right to find it misplaced. The fact that someone levies an executive order, the thing about this nation is we don't fear our legislators. We don't fear them. We don't live our lives that a law is in place. There's various laws that were passed that folks do not agree with those laws. There's several that I can bring to mind, but for the sake of time and conversation, you all pretty much can imagine what they are. So I'm just being analogous that we make decisions all the time, and then the repercussions of those decisions is for the marketplace to judge us by. That was the only analysis, nothing deeper than that, Mr. Chair. But thank you for giving me a chance to say a little more.
Certainly. Dr. Houlihan, do we have any type of guidance as of now when the state will be providing direction on this upcoming school year?
No, we do not. We have not received any word from DHHS or the governor's office on that. So as of now, the toolkit has not been changed in some time. And so we're still following exactly what that says.
And the toolkit becomes ineffective after July 31st, right?
I'm not sure when it
Not
becomes
effective, but I mean,
I don't think there's an end date on the toolkit. The statute that references the toolkit is for the 2021 school year.
okay.
All right. Any other comments?
So the toolkit becomes a tool that we might not be able to use. There's no backing with the session law, correct?
correct?
Okay.
All right, so could you do me a favor and just repeat the motion again?
Certainly. That this committee will recommend to the full board that effective August 1st, 2021, UCPS will transition to a mask optional environment for employees, students on all UCPS properties.
I'll repeat my second.
All right, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay? And again, I would like to reiterate that while I do not feel it is that students and parents should absolutely have the choice, and I feel strongly about that. I do not feel that, one, the branch that funds the majority of our operating expenses, that I feel like we're premature on putting this motion in place without having the guidance. And I feel like we're going to be back to having the same discussion next month, whether it's in policy, whether it's here, whether it's at the full board. So I do feel that we're premature in this without waiting for the guidance on this. I, for one, am not for a mask mandate, but I feel like in this instance, I feel like we're premature in making this motion, and we're going to be back.
Mr. Chair, you mentioned the unit that funds us. That's being held hostage. We're not hostages. We're citizens of the state, the great state of North Carolina. We are nobody's hostage. And if the higher level of authority, because we've made the motion in this committee to recommend to the full board, looks on that as a way to say we'll get them, then they're the ones that's proven just how wrong they are.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, let me just say that I respect your thoughts on this subject. I understand you sympathize in theory with the concept of mask optional. You are just concerned about the logistics and other influences that may impact our decision. And I respect that. There may be other board members when this topic comes up that share the same concerns. And I just want to say I respect your opinion on this, and perhaps events will change between now and the next board meeting that will allay some of your fears or provide information for you to feel otherwise.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to reiterate to the public that this is not a motion saying the mask will be optional for next year. This is recommended to the full board at our next board meeting for further vote. So.
And I think our deliberation shows the process. And that's why we have a vote. And our chair has led us today brilliantly, and we've all spoken our ways, and he's guided us to this vote. Agreement is not necessary. The process is necessary. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing the process to flow today.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, closed session approval minutes from the February 24th meeting.
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstained as I was not there. All right, so for closing items, we do have being taken to the full board is the motion which passed on the face covering mask optional requirement effective August 1st. And I believe that was it, going to the full board, correct?
Yes, the only other thing that I would note is that the Hanover research materials will be part of the FYI portion of the board meeting materials.
All right, next meeting date will be July 28th at 7:30 here at the PDC. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.